guys. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Hole. We come at you every week on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. This week is a extension of last week and part of a series. Now, we figured at the beginning of the year, we'll discuss what can we do this year that will make some meaningful change in the industry. And so this week we're talking manufacturers and distributors. And we have a guest today, Jake, with Shaw, right?
Yep.
I got that right, Jake?
Yep, with Shaw Contract. Thanks for having me, Paul.
Well, welcome. We're glad that you were able to join us today. And as usual, we have the two mainstays of Daniel and Jose of Preferred Flooring out of Michigan. Thank you guys for once again being on and contributing and just being real leaders in the industry. So
awesome, bro. Thanks for having us again. You know it.
Awesome. Well, this week I pulled a Jose. Anybody who joins our podcast every week knows that Jose's usually in the truck going somewhere. It's my turn. So that being said, we're going to kind of discuss some ideas that manufacturers that we feel from just a quick background. Most of you know that I own a floor covering company out of Wichita, and I'm also founder of Go Carrera. There's a lot of things over the 20 plus years that I've been in the industry that has changed with manufacturers as it applies to training and really how it applies to the installation community. Jose and Daniel have been installers for how many years, gentlemen?
20 something.
Yeah.
20 something, and they know they now have a flooring company called Preferred Flooring for the last several years, and I'm sure they have some insight here too. So the first piece that I'll bring up, or that was on my list, is why manufacturers not do certifications anymore. And I know there's some liability and stuff that came about, but true certifications and of the past seem to be pretty much passed down to your training entities like CFI and such. So I guess whoever wants to chime in on that question.
So I'll chime in with what I was told before Jake does. I know that he's the manufacturer with Shaw, but and this is all speculation. This is what I've heard through conversations with tech reps. Is because of the liability that they were acquiring, right? Like when they certify as a manufacturer or do the training for certification, they were assuming responsibility for that particular installer or that company. And if there were any failures, then it was coming back on their training program, or this is what we learned, or you certified them. And I think that's where some of the issues were coming about. And so they changed the literature a little bit, changed the way they were approaching it. And I get it. You don't want to adopt somebody else's negligence, right? And by certifying somebody as a manufacturer, you are essentially doing that.
Yeah, you're pretty much assuming the liability, right? Because it's like, yeah, they came through, they're certified, they're approved to go on your job. And then if they start doing something wrong, then the customer can be like, you sent these guys to me. Like, you said that they had to be certified and they are. Now what?
It's similar to like the automotive industry. My cousins tie up with Ford, and they call it Ford Factory Train. And ASE certified will get a certification, a third party, but from Ford standpoint, it's factory trained.
Yeah,
right. The same thing with when you look at Protect All, the manufacturer. When we went through that, I mean, it's had been 10 years ago now when we went through that, and it was not a certification, it was a factory training.
Yeah, they're just they're educating you on their product and limitations. And then what do you got to add to that, Jake? Like,
Oh, what was that, Paul?
No, I was just gonna say quickly, some manufacturers still train. I mean, or certify, or at least the last time I checked, like Nora, do they still get certification?
Nora still gives certifications, but when I went through there, they require you to actually make a visit back every 3 years unless one of the tech reps comes to visit you and sees your work on a project. So that
Mhm.
actually happened to us. So I am NORA certified, and the tech rep, when we were on a project, actually came out and like watched us work, asked me questions, got down and actually seeing how we were putting it in when the adhesive was spread and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's something that I was going to add as far as certification. I don't know if Shaw has done it in the past, but I know there are trainings offered, or we can have our tech team out in the field if there are specific projects that you are working on that need that kind of oversight or technical training. As far as certification, it does come down to liability of because you have a piece of paper, your training wheels are off. It doesn't mean that you're going to do how you did in the actual training certification out in the field. So I think that's what it comes down to. But if there's ever an instance where you need oversight or a help in a training, that's something that we could offer by getting somebody down at the mill, whether it's a complicated install or a big install that it's just an added feature that we can assist with.
So with that, that's on a project by project basis. Do you guys log that anywhere? I think the missing piece is that we've stripped installers. Now I understand the liability piece, but we've kind of stripped installers from having ways outside of Go Carrera. And of course, I'd love every installer to be on Go Carrera, but at the end of the day, we've somewhat stripped installers of the ability to prove their skills and their training and their dedication to the craft outside of Go Carrera. They can't show a certificate unless it's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They don't have a way to prove their
Expertise or their, yeah.
you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's it.
Separate themselves
Yeah.
from other installers.
Mm-hmm. Or else, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, unless it's just word from mouth that hey, these guys do a great job. They're trustworthy. They'll put it down. They'll do it correctly. Follow protocol. Are there other certifications out there outside the NORA that you talked about, Jose?
Yeah, there's plenty of education programs out there for every silo in the flooring industry. CFI runs a general run, NAFCT runs resilient, and then they're also doing subfloor and prep. CTI,
Yeah,
there's
those are great training. So what does it mean to a general contractor or a homeowner? They don't know what CFI is. They don't know what
right.
NAFCT. They know who Shaw Contract is. They know who, Mohawk and Milliken. They know those names.
So
They don't know that, and they don't know the different levels. So you can say you're CFI certified, and you're really an R1 doing a C2 type project.
and
You know what I mean?
you're absolutely right about that. That there's no template that says that, hey, this is my card. This tells you where I'm at as far as my expertise and my level. There's nothing like that. You throw a name out there and you can say whatever you want after you throw a training program out there.
There's no that I think what I was getting at was there's no clout to it. That's what Go Career is trying to do, or is doing, is
Mhm.
giving a metric to be able to be utilized by ingesting all of the training and then providing the hammer rating. But at the end of the day, the void of manufacturer training, I guess I'm a little curious on standardized training, calling it factory trained or factory whatever, and still logging that installer completed that training. When you go out to projects and you help them through a project, that's helping them through a project, but it's not, our goal is how do you significantly improve the installer's life their standard of living, and they don't get that, just because a manufacturer came out to a project and yeah, the project went well, but they don't get to carry that forward to the rest of their working career. You don't get to say that, yeah, I was trained by Shaw or I was trained by Mohawk or whoever, right? And Shaw Contracts is such a great company and a large company that, is there any standardized training, Jake, to your knowledge, where installers could go to a Shaw facility or a Shaw supported facility and get off the project, I should say, training?
Not to my knowledge, but I'm sure it's something that we could do. I don't know if it would be so much as a certification. There definitely is an opportunity in local RDCs. When I was down in Chicago, in the Chicago market, we had one outside of the city where we had specific installers come in for sheet vinyl training, but it's just training itself. It's not so much a certification. So I could definitely follow up with the technical team in the mill to see if that's something where that'd be of interest in local markets, to get a group of installers out there for, say it's heat welding or say it's any type of installation, and then have a Shawback program for training. I just personally haven't done anything to my knowledge on it.
So,
Yeah, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a certification, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
Just a factory train. That's how Ford got through it.
Even the training
So-
can be recognized, and just a little background as well, like the hammer ratings he's talking about for Go Carrera. What it is that it gives the installer a rating for their skill set. And,
Okay.
and I don't know like how many trainings are actually recognized, and if it adds to a hammer rating, Paul. And I'm sure that you're factoring a lot of training and education programs in there too for the hammer
Yeah,
rating.
just about everything.
Yeah.
Even afternoon workshops, like in the tile world, they have the NTCA afternoon workshops at different distributors. Even those are recognized. It doesn't give you a bunch of hammer, obviously. Your afternoon free lunch, but still recognize that there's still 100 other installers that didn't go to it, and you still did, and you still participated, and you still probably learned something. And so, as long as a training is cataloged, meaning the entity that did the training saves the fact that, say, Daniel did a one-day workshop, right? We recognize all the 2-day workshops for Schluter. It's a 2-day workshop, and like I said, just afternoon workshops at the NTCA even, and each one has a different weight inside of our algorithm, so it gives different amounts of hammer based on the years of experience that you have and a ton of other factors. So it's hard to say that this training equals that amount of weight, because it depends on your previous trainings as well as your years of experience and work history. But if the training that you're talking of, Jake, is possible to get set up where, and industry wide, right? We have a huge need in the industry to get trained. So I'm not even saying one manufacturer can solve it all, but if the manufacturers had a factory training that they log when the installer goes, and you can fill out a questionnaire that says, what type of training it was, how many hours of hands-on, how many hours of book study, tests, all that stuff. And you just fill out the questionnaire, as long as, like for Go Carrera's purposes, as long as Go Carrera can go and verify and prove that installer took training, they get to get that value added to their hammer rating, and they get to carry that training forward. It's a way to incentivize installers to especially independent installers that are not under a company's veil, not employee installers, to go get trained, spend the money and the time off to get trained, because it means, more more work orders and more pay down the road for them.
The training itself, Jake, might not hold weight alone because it's just quite as a training, but
Right.
that training with a certification in that same field, and now all of a sudden now that holds more weight. So you're taking this glob of certification. Let's just call it, like, let's say C1 or C2 or something like that from CFI. Just use that, right? But now I'm adding on to that. Now I have this. Now I have the formal technical training and the science behind everything. Now I also have, Shaw's training for their carpet and their backings and what they have. And I think
Exactly.
add more weight to that initial certification that installer has devoted their time to.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
think about just as adding tools to a tool belt, right?
Yes.
Just it betters their personal skills, their training skills, their installation skills, and then it also helps us out when our materials do go down. Of we want it to go in correctly and get that training so that we don't have issues in the back end.
So then you're
So
covered.
it helps everybody out in the
Yeah.
overall sense.
It's
So,
just, and a lot of like what Patrick, when I know he had said something before we started recording, but like our relationship with Patrick didn't start as a sales relationship. It started as an installer talking to the sales rep, trying to figure out the problems and making some decisions from an installer standpoint.
exactly.
And that's what
Yep.
happened. Hey, how'd you guys fix that? How'd you guys know about that? And talking to Daniel, like, he's like, oh, you guys really do good work. You know what you're talking about, know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think
it helps us out from the manufacturer's perspective, even though I'm a manufacturer's rep. But if it can add anything to my tool belt of, hey, I can talk to a higher, maybe not as high a level as an installer, but if I can get some basic knowledge of the actual install as it's going down, it helps out all sides of the group,
right, and it also helps with material that you're getting spec'd, right? Like the whole
Well,
thing
I'm going to jump here. I want to say thank you for bringing that up, Jose, because the fact is that say you're C2, like you said, and then you get a Shaw, factory training, it's like a booster to your other certification that you already got. It's like it adds fuel to hammer rating fire, so to speak. And so it's more value if you're already certified and then you go to a Shaw factory training. The weight is heavier because of the foundation you're building on. I don't want to get real nerdy on the algorithm that creates the skill score because it's very complex, but essentially what you said is correct. And one other benefit is that, as an installer going through and they may be C2 certified, but one of the problems that I've found in the commercial floor covering industry is the backings changing and the recycled backings, and then getting rid of PVC and then adding PVC back in and then some blend. And how many backing changes has the industry had in the last 10 years? You're not getting that on a certification. You're getting that from the mill. When you guys change your backing, I had a 2,000-yard job fail because one of our installers, and I will not name the mill, but they had a new backing system that required certain, and if I tell you the processes, but certain processes, and those processes were not followed to the T. Well, the installer had no idea. Heck, even our PM was somewhat.
Are you talking about because you had to prime before you spread the adhesive?
I'm not saying anything, Daniel. I'm not saying stuff.
You see what he's trying to do there?
But the is, and the mill helped us out and stood behind, and but the fact is that failure never had to happen with proper training. The failure never had to happen, and with over $3 billion in failures annually in the flooring industry, if you include moisture failures, could we not, as a industry, as an advocate for installers, find a way that to half that? How much better is our industry by halving the failure? It's a over $1 billion deduction from failures, right? So
So
I hope that manufacturers this year really focus on the installer and form some training. Don't call it certification. Let's just call it factory training or factory informed. I don't care how loose you get with it, as long as the training is really valuable, and you can people can check to make sure that installer reads that training. That's a step in the right direction.
So we just had the Taylor rep. You're breaking up a little bit, Paul. So we just had the Taylor rep in here right before we got on here, right? And he actually just told us that if we're CFI certified, you actually get a lifetime warranty when you use their adhesives in your projects, as opposed to their 10 or 15-year, whatever comes standard, right?
2 years.
No, that's installation
Oh,
warranty.
yeah.
But how can we get with the manufacturers and actually have them put in their documentation if we hold certain certifications, then even our labor warranty is extended on top of the manufacturer's warranty on some stuff, where it's instead of a 10-year warranty, you get a 15 or 15-year, you get a 20-year, backed by not only the manufacturer, but the organization you're certified from. So that way they can actually see the value that they're getting, as opposed to just hiring someone off the street and hoping that they get a warranty at some point.
Yeah, I think that the extended warranties on labor in particular, you know, we're working on one thing that I think, you know, we'll be chatting on this offline, but basically once you reach a certain hammer rating, we're working with some insurance companies to provide the same labor warranty that like install does, which will give the like a 5-year or 10-year labor warranty if you're 3 hammers or above, as a sales piece to the installer for when they're out there, you know, selling their services. But from a manufacturer to stand behind it, what do you think about that, Jake?
Yeah, again, it's if you can add more to it. I don't know how it would work but you give me homework and get with the technical team and warranties on. I don't know how that would work along with the set warranties that we have in place. But if they do go hand in hand, I don't see an issue. But again, don't shoot the messenger. But I can bring it up the totem pole and exactly see how that would work, though, of how can you get that extended warranty if you have a separate certification. I don't know personally how that would work without going up the ladder.
Well, it's all a process, right? It has to start everything starts with an idea. That's
exactly
all we're doing right now is we're spitballing. Yep. How can the manufacturers and distributors help? You know, case in point, one of our distributors just brought the Taylor rep in here to talk about their products, and just doing stuff like that is really beneficial because they have some products that we didn't know about, right? So it's all about, you know, just making your rounds. And as a salesperson, I know how busy you are because I know how much I email you per day.
But it's all good. But
I can only imagine what your inbox looks like.
Yeah, but also you got to think it's not only, and it just comes out to the whole overarching thought on this is it's nothing but beneficial for you, for us, for installers, for everybody. So if we can team up and start this idea and spark it and ignite it, and then something turns out from it, that's kind of, nothing's going to get done unless you have conversations like this around it, you know, whether it's I'm boots on the ground up here in Michigan, but I bring it to a VP who covers the Midwest. That VP then covers it to a divisional, and then it goes from there, starts like wildfire. But like I said, you guys got me homework now. I'll follow up, get with the technical team and get with other people up in upper management on it to see exactly what can be done with that.
And then like last week we had Kevin in here from Roberts, and he's on Facebook right now. And he said, did I ask the tailor rep if his warranty will supersede the flooring warranty? If it doesn't, it won't matter much. And that's another thing too. It's you can see these manufacturers actually going to places and spreading the knowledge that they have, right? And that's a wonderful thing. I love it. And if you look at it, so we've talked with the NAFCT about how, and that's the National Association of Floor Covering Technicians. If you didn't know, we've talked about before how these manufacturers are dropping their certifications and how that liability, but it's about getting with these other training entities and actually saying, all right, your guys' training holds its weight in gold. How can we partner with you? Because just speaking about resilient sheet goods, right? Sheet vinyl. You can use the knowledge from learning one product and kind of translate that over to all the other products. So to have just every manufacturer doing their own thing doesn't necessarily make sense anymore, but getting these manufacturers to actually back these different organizations is something else. And that's something that I don't have to deal with, but it's something that I want to talk about, right? Because if we can have all these manufacturers backing us up, that just makes us more powerful.
Well, and I want to, that's one of the reasons that Taylor does that, is because they're so closely aligned with CFI. So they, if others could align, and I don't know all the dynamics in the background of the training entities with manufacturers, but we're all, it's like the industry's working on, bringing in more people, and I support that. But something you said in a conversation earlier today, Daniel, is that it's been brought up by multiple people and probably agreed upon, is that we have plenty of installers. We're lacking quality. We're lacking, first off, a way to verify or know that they're quality without working them and then finding out they're not on a job. So that's kind of where we're trying to fill. But then you got plenty of guys that are working, but we're really lacking those quality installers, right? You said that earlier, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, we have a surplus of installers. It's just not many of us are qualified to the standard that we need to be in the industry. And that if you look at it from a whole, just on the commercial side, there's so much science that goes behind the adhesive, the products that you have to know, and then you pair that with actually having to know the science behind what you're installing on. So if you're installing on wood, what kind of wood is it? If you're installing on concrete, are there any additives in it? Is there anything topical on it? What do you have to do if there's something on there? So there's so much that goes behind it, and there's so many people that are in it, and the stores that are selling these jobs. That's what the salesmen are there for. They're there to sell, and then they worry about the installation afterwards. Because like I said, I'll go on these dealer groups and stuff, and that's what they say. It's sell, worry about whatever later. As long as you get that sell, nothing else matters right now.
That being said, I don't mean to take away from that, but I want to ask you a question here, Jake. How much of product knowledge are you as a sales rep in the area? What is the requirement of product knowledge on your behalf as a sales rep versus a tech rep? I know tech is more technical, but I'm just curious, like what is required of you to maintain and how do you promote the knowledge of the product, make sure that the installer isn't set up for failure, or the company that you are helping select a product isn't set up for failure?
Yeah. So what's unique, I came out, which I've out of college, I lived in Georgia for 3.5 months. So I went through the Shaw training program where it was all product knowledge. Again, it does come down, like you said, just we know so much about the products and where they go, but once we get it out there, we get the specification, we need to back it with, we need to make sure it's the correct installation. So we have all this product knowledge and product training. Having the tech team as support, I think I guess all manufacturers could put a little more emphasis on technical training and installation training, because right now is we rely on our installers for that knowledge to pair up with the product knowledge, right? So as myself being a product specialist for Shaw Contract, I would rely on my installers then for that installation specialist. So it's got to be the give and take of, we can't expect all of our installers to know our product in and out, just as I don't know the installation in and out, and that's where I need to rely on installation or my installers for that. But like you said, if there's the training that I was offered was mostly product, minimal installation, what we could do is get that flip flop of, we try to install, or we try to help out with the knowledge for our install, but that vice versa. If I could get help on the installation knowledge, it just betters everybody's chances for less failures, better installs, better products, better projects being installed, and just happier customers overall. So
greater percentage of success equals a greater percentage of word of mouth business, which turns into
exactly.
And that's
it creates word of mouth for everybody. Everybody's happy in the long run, and you don't have to look at project 2 to 3 times after it's installed, whether it starts to fail, anything fails. So overall, it makes sense to just team up, and we're all doing it for the same reason. So
yeah, ultimately, from a brand standpoint, when a manufacturer has something fail, whether it's the installer's fault or not, the end user typically has some type of strike in their mind about that manufacturer.
And that's what we try to mitigate that, right? Because we've been in the hospitals where they're like, we hate this product sucks, and then we go and rip it out, and it's like, the product doesn't suck, it's just it wasn't installed correctly, so that what the lifespan was shortened a lot. Like if it was installed correctly, they wouldn't be having the issues, and they wouldn't hate that product. And that's something that we tell the customers. It's like, one, we don't want to throw the installer under the bus, because they did the best that they could. They did the best with the knowledge that they had. Was it enough? No, but the manufacturer shouldn't pay for what that installer did at the same time. It's a great product, and if we installed it, you'll see that. And I mean, I'm not, at some point they've already made up their mind, and they're going to switch out the product, right? But it's like, we just want to let you know that down the line, if this product gets spec'd again, it's not a bad product.
Yeah. And some of it too is maintenance, right? Like if they didn't maintain it properly, if they were using it to maintain it because in their head it's been institutionalized and this is what they've been doing for 20 years, but the product specification says not to do it a certain way, they could have killed the life of the product too. So I guess that's the education part goes beyond just starting at the substrate and working way up, right? It's a system. So the end user should also be educated as far as maintenance.
yeah, just going off of that, I mean, I have one where the school district went from VCT, where they strip and wax 2 to 3 times a year.
LVT.
They want to use LVT, and they think it's a magical floor that you don't have to do anything to, because LVT.
Yeah.
They didn't change their casters. Everything gets scraped up. It's basically having cement with any salt melt, anything going on, it just got scratched up. They're like, well, it's LVT, we don't have to do anything to it. So that was coming off of, no matter what product was down, it was going to get scratched up no matter what, because it's starting from the installation from the subfloor all the way up, and then teaming up with furniture just to maintain your our product to the installation. Because if it starts to get chewed up by furniture, it makes not only the manufacturer look bad, the installers look bad. The end user is going to point a finger at somebody, and because we're down first, it's going to be one of us.
Right. And they,
Yeah.
I mean, they even have stuff out there now. It's where you can refinish LVT. We went through a presentation
Yeah.
with the FCICA, and who was that?
I forget what manufacturer.
It was Mapei, wasn't
Oh,
it?
it was Mapei. Yeah. Yeah. They got a topical. It's a temporary fix, right? But it's a selling
There's
point.
a few of them. Never Strip has one. There's there's some other coatings and stuff you put on top. Like you said, they have a solution, but you know, I think everybody moving to LVT really messed up. This just side note. The way LVT was sold for the first 10 years didn't do it any favors. People thought it couldn't scratch, that you know, it was impervious to any problem. Didn't need any maintenance ever. It you know, obviously we know different today, but 10 years ago, when there was not as many manufacturers of LVT, maybe 15 would be a better time frame. But you know, it was kind of sold as the clad back then. You know, many people who specified, old architects or designers or end users who may buy it, you know, have been around them, still have this expectation. You know, from a sales standpoint, when we're selling LVT, we always talk about that it will scratch. We promise you it will scratch. If you do not take care of it in a proper manner and maintain your dirt, it will scratch. So, but from an install standpoint, back to that a little bit, you know, as manufacturers, if they could do an installer bulletin, was this is my second thought, installer bulletin that could be distributed and actually gotten in the installer's hands on when different backing systems come out, because you may be certified and be an awesome carpet layer, but when a new backing comes out, and I'm just talking carpet right now, but this applies to almost all of them, especially LVT, that particulars for that backing, when the chemistry of that backing changes, so too does some of the processes that need to be considered, how you install it. So,
That's part of the training. Are you reading that right now?
you reading the chat?
I was glad reading the question. Yeah.
Yeah, Levi said that it not a question, just input, right? Installation crew and or the retailer should be explaining the cleaning processes and proper maintenance to avoid potential warranty issues, right? And commercially, that's a little bit easier because we have to provide all that documentation anyways. So that documentation,
it's easier for us to check the box, but
right,
the end users get it and they never pay attention to it or implement it. It's like a part of our requirement for our specification that we give them closeout, care and maintenance and all that. But you know as well as I do, you go back and look at it in 5 years, and someone who did most of the maintenance crews that take care of those commercial buildings do not read or care. They have their own system and they do something, and I've seen it completely ruin flooring before. But but that's a good point that Levi brings up, is of course from a long-term standpoint, keeping the end user informed is important, and telling them how to maintain and clean their flooring or take care of their flooring.
It'll eliminate a lot of problems that we go back to try to fix. And I mean,
yeah, so installer bulletins, I know that manufacturers have like lists of installers, and if something new comes up, it's just an installer bulletin. Doesn't need, you can send it to the company, because some companies have employee installers that doesn't get, but something for the installer to engage with when there's updated install methods for different systems or backings or something
Jake's
like
already
that.
gonna do that for us. He said that every time something changes, he's gonna send us like a little postcard and let us know where it is and how to find the link, right? That's what we're gonna get now, Jake, because you're our guy, right?
That's what I said. I told you I have homework, so
No, but when you brought up the NORA certification, NORA actually does that. So they change the adhesive and they change their stair installation to where it's not. In order to install NORA stairs, you have to use the tape method now. There's no more adhesive going down. So they did send out, you know, documentation when that stuff changed. That's from the tech side. The tech rep actually emailed me and said, hey, this is what's changing. Email me back, let me know you got this. But
So
that,
is
Yeah,
that-
you know,
was
that's on the
that
certification
like a-
side.
That's the certification side you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's because I'm in the certified database.
gotcha. So now does that go out to everybody of, hey, here's a tweak of what we're doing with our products. This is how we're gonna do it from now on?
Yep.
Okay.
And then Patrick Mullins on LinkedIn said that this is kind of what they're building, not kind of, that's what they are building Floor Cloud for, direct manufacturer updates to installers. So I guess that's something to look into as well. They've been on social media. I've seen them a few places lately. It says when you go to select the product you are going to install, it sends you a notification of the new change.
that's cool. Yeah, Floor Cloud system is pretty awesome. I didn't use it, but I watched their
Hey, we watched it together.
at FCICA, and then I've talked to the guys over there a couple of times offline. So yeah, that's cool.
So Jake, we have a question for you. Flooring manufacturer recommended adhesive.
That's
There
a
we
tough
go.
one. That's a tough
Here we
one.
go.
Depend. There's a lot of different instances of what the subfloor is. What
I
the
guess what
moisture-
I think what he's trying to get at is in your documentation, it usually says Shaw adhesive is required, right?
It's yes, we require adhesive for warranties. I understand that always doesn't happen, and installers use what they're comfortable with and what they're used to. But again, just being able to get the questions up front or those moisture tests done in the forefront of how can we prohibit something bad from happening. Again, if installers are used to using pressure sensitive or just a regular wet set adhesive, then that's what they're used to. We can only do so much to recommend our own. And like you said, just from from a maintenance side too, we can say, okay, you have to buy these casters and we're trying to protect our floors. We need to think of it as more information, and then being more information, the better to then decipher an answer. But if we were looking for, there's an overall one-stop shop, all adhesive, I don't have that answer for you.
That's a great answer. So like, based on conversations that we've had with you know, we're just gonna go across the board. It's installers, the manufacturer recommend a system that they're going to warranty and that they're going to back, that they're comfortable with, because that is the system that they are using for all of their testing. If you were to venture outside of utilizing the system that is recommended by the manufacturer, then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to make sure that there are safety mechanisms in place and you are not skipping steps. Because if one thing fails, the system is not a whole. They're going to have to break it into segments, and then they will find the failure where it was, because science doesn't lie. So I don't think any sales rep is going to tell you to, yeah, go ahead and use that. Like there's a question on there, like, what if it's not available? Well, if the manufacturer adhesive is not available, then you're going to have to use the next best, right? And the next best is
Most manufacturers are pretty good at giving that alternative to their product. I mean, I've had that happen with some other you know, if it's a hard set acrylic adhesive or something, well, what's another manufacturer that makes one that you guys would accept? And specifically, I think a lot of us became really aware of this during the COVID problem of supply. We had plenty of manufacturers that were like, no warranty without our adhesive.
Yeah.
They couldn't supply them, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, you can use these three.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I'm just going to try to get like an example here because there's a question about that is, Jake, if we were in a scenario where you guys were out of adhesive for your terrain 2, just say we're doing some 20 mil terrain 2 and we couldn't get any adhesive for it, what would be your recommendation for the next adhesive in your toolbox that you are allowed by Shaw contract to tell us to use if that is the case?
Yeah. So say that we use our typical resilient adhesive and we can't get it for whatever reason it may be. We then go into different buckets of still that are under Shaw that are approved. But then if we can't get that, then we would then go up the ladder for this project specific to get that I guess stipulation of, can we use this for this project because of X, Y, and Z. So it's just a matter of getting with your manufacturer's rep of, we can't get this, we go to option B, we can't get this, we go to option C. Now what can we do? So it's just that open communication of how can we find a solution that fits this customer.
So that question should be run up the ladder, call the rep, talk to them about it, because it could change every conversation.
Exactly. Project to project.
Okay. So
circumstance to circumstance.
Right, because sometimes, we're on the fly, right? Because that's what it's. We have this, we ran short on adhesive, the supply store is closing in a half hour. This is what they have. Can I use this? It's either going to be a yes or no.
Yeah.
And I don't have the capability being boots on the ground on out running around to make those decisions. So I got to run it up the ladder too in order to get that approval to then.
Well, not only that, it's we can actually call the number that's on the bucket, right? The tech number.
Exactly. Just customer service, or talk to your manufacturer's rep. If you can't get a hold of them, talk to customer service. Eventually you'll get in front of a manufacturer's rep who then will have to reload it back, or at least in my case, I got to run it up the ladder to my manager to then go to tech and so on. So,
right. And we've been in the situation before to where we've used some adhesive that said that it worked for certain things, and then it didn't, because plasticizer migration is a thing, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a manufacturer, it was the adhesive. So the adhesive manufacturer came back with, oh, you're not supposed to use it on it. And I pulled up the specs and it says 100% I can use it on this. So
can you believe that they made up new labels and redistributed under new labels?
Who would do that?
We won't say, but
well, they don't make the product anymore anyways.
It's his fault.
No, it's California's fault.
Yeah. And actually, you know what? So that's another thing too, is our distributor actually had our back on that too. And because of that instance right there, and they actually stopped carrying that specific product because the manufacturer didn't back their failure. They clearly said in the labels that we had, but their new labels were missing it. And that's what they were trying to throw at us. And we're like, no, dude, like that, look at this, look what we got right here, look at this. Instead of here is day and writing on your actual old label. And now because of this issue, you changed it. So some installers pay attention, Jake. So
hey, that's what we need.
The internet can be your friend and your enemy at the same time.
Right. Double-edged sword.
Well, hey, gentlemen.
Holy smokes, we are. Holy
here to the end already, believe it or not. So I want to thank you, Jake, for coming on. I know some of the stuff we weren't always, it's not always looking for the exact answer from you, just the insights and thought processes on, I think it's important for manufacturers and the installation community to have some some ways to share information. And I also, going to my very first point, just some level of factory training. I do like the installer bulletin. I know Floor Cloud had jumped in and said, that they're working on some stuff. I know that, Go Carrera long term. Not sure when this feature is out. We will have an installer bulletin eventually where manufacturers just go on and load up new information on their installation of a certain product, and that'll go out to the entire Go Carrera installer network. And it'll show as read or not read, or opened or not opened, and kind of give that feedback on knowing that the installers are getting it and reading it and understanding it. And all those would also be great to have like a tech rep behind it that could answer any remaining questions. So just some ideas.
I love it. No, thank you guys for inviting me on. It opened up my eyes as well. So again, if there's any questions, it's good for us as manufacturers to be reminded of this as well, because we are so in product where we got to look at it on the back end as well of how can we get something down that's going to stay down and perform well to make everybody look good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's our ultimate goal as installers too, is we've come across some pretty
Yep.
good product, but we've come across a lot worse installs than bad product.
Yep.
Right. Kelly even puts on here, when we were talking about, the manufacturers and backing up installers, she said that the manufacturers back up design organizations all the time. Why not start doing it for installers, since we're kind of that backbone, right? It's
You can sell
We're
all
the
you want. I
ones-
always say you can sell all you want, but if it goes down like crap, you got a
yeah,
problem.
we're the ones on the front line, man.
Always.
The more we can do to learn about the product that we're putting down and stuff like that, that's really what we need to do.
Well,
Awesome.
and
Well,
I just real quick, if I can just add, I challenge just everybody to put their manufacturer rep. This opened up my eyes a lot. So if you have a specific manufacturer's rep that you love working with, or just open up their eyes too, so that they can start that conversation where, again, it's not going to do anything but benefit us all in the long run.
I love it. Thanks for that comment. That's important. Yeah, push your sales reps and your tech reps to get you the information, and also push if you caught any nuggets off this off the Huddle podcast here, use them to kind of like Jake said, push your sales reps to maybe make some meaningful change. They can push it up the mountain, as Jake was talking about earlier, and get it up to higher levels. And I think we all want a better installation community, and at the end of the day, deliver great projects for our end users. So, all right, gentlemen. Well, hey, thanks, Jake, for joining us again. And
Appreciate it,
Yeah.
Brian, for noticing.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
yeah, it was awesome. Daniel, Jose, thanks again for being a good Samaritans of the flooring installation community, because a lot of people listen, and I think that understanding that some of the challenges that we go through out in the field, and the stuff that the instances you bring up are fresh and can help us all be better. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everybody. Thanks for the audience, everybody joining in. If you like the content you have heard today, consider liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel. We upload these every week. We upload them to our YouTube channel. So go search us out, like and subscribe, join the podcast, get involved in the community. Outside that, I want to say thank you to everybody once more, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Have a
See
good
you
one.
guys.
Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Thanks,
one.
guys.
Appreciate your time.
All right. Yep.
See you.